Good evening, welcome back into the arena for continued last 64 coverage. Australia's Paul Clack takes on Scotland's Scott Gillespie. Gillespie on the back of a run of great form this season, European Open champion, runners up in the British Open as well. Mark Shepherd and Tony Holgate here to talk you through this one. Should be a good game, Tony.
Yeah, very good game. Obviously, like you say, Scott Gillespie, the man in form, or one of the men in form. Can't leave out Sean Chipperfield and Craig Waddingham, obviously, because they won the last two Ultimate Pool Pro events. Paul Clack, a man I've played against. He was in the Australian team when I last played for Ireland. Nice to see Clacky over here. Lovely guy. But he's going to have his work cut out with the man from Scotland.
Yeah, you can't help but root for the people that have put so much into getting over here. Paul's been doing a lot of travelling. He's played a lot of events. He's only missed one Pro Series weekend this year, but obviously much tougher commitment. Last year I think he was based a bit more over in Europe, travelling around a bit. I don't think he's been maybe travelling back and forth a bit more this time. Obviously a long way to come.
Always look at that one over. I see when I first met Paul and when I first saw him on a team sheet, I thought, why have they put an extra L in his first name? But it's actually, it's well, I've never seen it spelt with a double L before. Maybe he's just unique and on his own. But lovely guy, he's Clacky, and he can play a bit, I can tell you. Doing well, we'll still be playing. Because, I mean, he's a bit younger than me, but I don't think he's that much younger than me, to be fair. He'll probably pull me when he sees me now and say, what do you mean I'm not younger than you?
Yeah, he's a popular figure around the UK scene. He's spent a while based around the Stoke area playing with the crowd that are all based at the Players' Lounge down there, so got some good opposition.
Yeah, there's no better place to practice. Well, why not use all the parts of the table, Paul? Why not indeed? You and I both thought that was go straight in the middle. It's going to roll around that jaw, but, well, to the relief of Paul Clack, it hasn't dropped in.
Well, not only is it not dropped in, but you can put it better with your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a double whammy. I'm sure Scott Gillespie enjoyed watching that go off both jaws of the middle bag. So it's the man from down under who's going to take the opening frame this evening. And in it goes. Little acknowledgement of his... well, I mean, it's not, you know, say it's lucky or anything because it stayed on the table.
Well, he also got close to going to the middle pocket, but that's turned out okay.
And he got red.
Table returning the favour on the opposite side. Not a bad chance this. Bit of traffic around near where the cue ball is, but a clear shot at the red to the bottom right if that's his choice. Don't think he's got any easy yellow to open. Could play the plant to the left centre. Maybe he can get through. Yeah, he could get through to that one. That made it a bit easier. Just got to find a way to get to the yellow that's to the right of the cue ball now.
Well, this man has been surgically removing pool balls for a good few months now. I mean, in fantastic form. The way he played when he won the European Open, I was lucky to be enough to be on comms throughout that tournament. As well, you were up there as well, weren't you? Yeah, there's you and I and J-Mo. And he was phenomenal. I mean, you know, when obviously they say, well, that there's, you know, the guys won the tournament, he deserved to win it. That was one tournament he played brilliant every round. He didn't have a bad match. You know, sometimes someone's got away with one in the quarterfinals, or along the way you've dodged a bullet, and he didn't. He was just fantastic for the entire tournament.
It's a long old tournament as well, wasn't it? The way it was played with that group stage.
Yeah,
a lot of pool was played over that weekend.
There were big groups as well. I mean, that was really cutthroat. You know, because you've got You know, when you got to win a few short races against top quality professionals, I mean, you're relying on getting balls off the break, because if you don't get them, you're gone. Simple as that.
Yeah, it made for an interesting storyline, because there were people that were winning their groups who then dumped straight out as soon as we got to the knockout stage. As you say, it was Scott that was just the most consistent player the whole weekend.
Yeah, and an all-round nice guy as well. It's Scott Gillespie. And this is looking ominous. Paul Clack won the first frame, and he's going to know what he's up against. He's going to have to continue finishing from breaks. Is Paul, because Scott Gillespie he's still going. It's just like everything's linking from one tournament to the next.
Yeah, it was just like he found that little extra couple of percent this year. It wasn't like he'd necessarily been playing badly the last season or two, but just didn't quite seem to be getting the results.
I'll tell you what it is, Mark. When you're playing it as well as he is, you see everything so clearly. It's crystal. He knows exactly what ball to play. He chooses every shot the right shot. He's never out of position, and you know that's quite tricky.
The intensity that Scott brings. So, get a repeat of the first frame. Well, what if he doesn't pot a ball? He can't.
Black and red stuck together. That's the thing at the bottom of the table. You'd have to take reds, because just simply because of the reds. There's one red in particular that's near that left-hand middle bag. That would be your ball to knock the black and red apart. So if that's your ball to do that, you're going to have to play the red at the top of the table. So he's taking yellows. After all, my explanation of reds, and just knock it out that way. Well, it's still there to be bumped out. It will now go off that red in the middle, but then I would have been tempted to go reds there.
Yeah, instinctively it felt like reds were the safer choice, because you could have played it as a plant, you could have played it out.
You could have rolled that red up the top into the top corner and left the angle straight away and then kicked out. But then when he looked at that, he thought he was going to probably bump the red into the middle of the table. But then he should be able to get on it from there. It's just one of those where I think I'm right. But then Scott will pot these and say, no, you're not, you're wrong. So, and that's fair play.
Yeah, I mean, Paul isn't really a right or wrong sometimes, is it? It's just a question of percentages.
No, I'm always right.
Just a few percent between the decisions sometimes. You also don't know. You never get to see what the opposite would have been. He's in lovely shape with the balls in the middle of the table, so it's just how he gets on the 8 ball at the end.
And to be fair, who am I to second guess somebody in the form that Scott Gillespie's in? But I will anyway.
Never miss a ball from this position. It is that precision, though, that he's brought to his game. I mean, he's always had it, but it feels like that's one of the things that's definitely tightened up in the last few months. As you say, it's sort of driven by confidence and then seeing the patterns better. And obviously, the more you win, the more you play, because you're getting deeper and deeper. That European Open that we talked about basically was on the table for 3 days straight. So it gives you sort of good practice, even if you weren't warmed up already. Come on a few times to think about the end of this finish. If it was just a case of potting the 3 yellows, there wouldn't be much to this. So make sure he leaves an angle off the last ball.
Has to leave that angle to get down the table on the last yellow.
He's got just a hair too much angle for the really natural shot here.
I think he's a little bit worried here. He certainly can't roll it in, because if he rolls that in, he's going to straight on the last one. So can he stop the white dead? I think it still moves slightly to the south of the table if he hits it. Right, so he made his mind up that he couldn't get an angle, so he's done the right thing. He's now elected to play this into the corner and bring the cue ball down. So anywhere sort of just away from the bottom rail here, behind that black ball, and it goes, as you see, as it goes clean into the middle, or it goes off the red.
The nice thing about playing it to the corner is he's got a natural angle. There's plenty of space on the right-hand side. Those 2 cushions played big for him.
I'd be okay with that. I'd rather be playing it from this angle, cutting it towards the red, rather than if you're playing it the blind shot going the other way. There's a chance you hit that thick. This way, you aim sort of at the far jaw and just it will clip that red and go in. And played it very well indeed, and a nice finish there from Scott Gillespie.
But then you wouldn't even say that was the wrong odds, really, the way Tom's played this season. Second favourite, Jack Whelan, who was the man that Scott beat in that European Open final.
Hard for Jack because he goes backwards and forwards from China, plays a lot over there, so he's jumping size of balls and this, that and the other. You know, no doubt in the world that, you know, Jack Whelan's a fabulous cueist. But to jump backwards and forwards, it's got to be tough. But then he makes that decision, and he at the European Open he got close there as well. You know, and he's always towards the business end. Nice pot there from Paul Clack.
Yeah, the other thing that Jack's been doing is devoting a lot of time. It's one of the players that's concentrating on playing full time, so really committed to it. I do think that transition from Chinese 8-ball is a difficult one. There might be some similarity in the patterns, but the bigger cue ball really does change your timing. Well, he could have done without that.
Yeah. I mean, the plant's makeable now, but the second red's now flying around the table, and so you're going to have to hit this with a bit of pace as well. So your cue ball's coming off this bottom rail as well and setting off in all sorts of angles. Whether he refuses it and takes a cut in the middle.
Yeah, that plant is really ugly, isn't it? I think this must be the right choice. That was always going to be the issue, though.
My mum used to have some ugly plants, but they were all on the windowsill. I always remember them. I think it was the Venus flytrap. That was rather ugly for starters.
So that was a segue I hadn't forecast.
No, it just sort of reminded me of it as we were, you know, meandering down that road, Mark. Well, as yet, we needed a bit of luck there, skidding off that yellow and nearly nudging the two reds apart. I think he, don't tell me he could slightly bend this, I think, and creep this red in. Can he put it clean? Yeah. I think he's playing it with a little bit side just to swing the cue ball a bit. Wow. He could pull it straight clean. I was looking at the overhead here, and I thought there's no way he had to bend it, but, well, he's got away with one here, with that nudge off the yellow.
Yeah, I mean, he's made this finish look good, but it's chanced the luck a little bit.
He has had, well, fortune favours the brave. He's took the ball by the horns and he's gone for it, and he's reaping the rewards. And he's going to level the match.
This has been some standard of play from both players so far.
Well, nobody's missed anything, have they?
No, they've not all been. They've been made to look easy. They've not been finishes that were guaranteed when they started out. Pretty good way of doing. Yeah, I mean, he's been an influential player from the beginning of Ultimate Pool. Lost the cue ball a bit, but he's potted a ball. Oh, he's really lost the cue ball in the end.
Well, he's not leaving himself much choice of ball. As Trish, our ref, has a little look to see if it's touching, and she did point at the black ball to say the cue ball is touching.
That's not of great consolation to Paul, because he can't play the black, so he's going to have to find the route to a colour. He's
going to have to sort of divert away from that ball, because if he goes sort of tries to... I'm only thinking because if he tried to try and pitch that red ball, this one here into the corner, but he's actually looking to play it off the yellow and into the right-hand middle.
Very low probability, but what else has he got, really?
This is top shelf stuff if he gets it.
Well, almost made one at the top.
So, handing the table over to Scott Gillespie.
Yeah, we're pleased to see that he's made a bit of a mess there at the top. The fact that he's tied that yellow up with the two reds gives him a little bit of insurance.
I don't think there's a great deal. Again, yellows seem the ball to me. I think he'd play probably into the centre bag first. he can leave an angle on the one that's very near the right-hand centre then and kick into those 2 balls in the yellow afterwards. That's where I'd be looking. So the yellow that's on the brown spot, I'll be playing that into the centre pocket, just roll it in, leave an angle on the other yellow near the right-hand centre. And that's why I didn't like that, because you don't want to be kicking those reds in that direction. If you played the ball into the middle and left the one in the middle there, the cue ball's coming into the other angle. So everything's going in the left-hand direction and not anywhere near that corner pad, because you need that open.
What to think about now? Could take the difficult yellow above the cue ball now, but tougher pot, or he can reroute and try and nudge it out.
Now, does he go for the 2 in 1 shot? Might be worth a try with that angle. That's definitely makeable. Yellow onto red. Yellow slots in behind it. It's a little stun shot. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant there from Scott Gillespie. And that's recovered the situation completely. And now look at the yellows.
Like we've said so many times already in this match, made to look easy, but that's one of those shots where obviously you're guaranteed to pot the red, but it's so easy to just hit slightly off angle with the yellow. You've got to hit it absolutely dead straight to get that effect.
It just seemed a nice angle where the cue ball was with the way in the direction it was going. It just made that shot just a tad easier than if it was really thin. The whole shot lent itself to that ball following in behind it. You still got to play the shot, and like you say, I mean, it's not ridiculously easy to execute, but for this man here, he seems to have the cue ball, a piece of string. And this, well, he's been faultless. And this for 3-2, and nobody's missed a ball.
5 top.
Well, I'll say that. Paul Clack tried a very elaborate red off a yellow, but I mean, nobody's missed something they'd expect them to pot. Well, a nice result from the break there for Scott Gillespie. Doesn't give him a massive slam, but it's a good, solid break. We'll have a little look at it here. It's a solid break. It's got the cue ball going straight back to the middle of bulk. I like that break. And he does make balls more often than not with it.
There's a lot to be said for controlling the break. It's not all about raw power.
No, that's right. Well, everything goes here, Mark. And the way this man's playing, you think, you pretty much have your house on these.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing up for tougher positions already this match, for sure. Good frame as well for him. Get 2 ahead for the first time. They're important, these first round matches. They're not pressured in the sense that you're not anywhere near the business end of the tournament. It's almost like a qualifier for the right to play in the rest of the event.
Yeah, but then there's the other side of the coin, is you don't want to lose this match and then have to sit about on Friday doing absolutely nothing.
Well, exactly that, and in a way that is what the pressure is, isn't it? Because you'd have the whole day off tomorrow. Event 10, the final Pro Series event, doesn't start until Saturday.
That would have been dangerous if I was playing when having 2 events. If I got knocked out early and having a spare day, ooh, the devil makes work for idle hands and all of that.
Straight on the practice table, you're saying?
Oh, they'd have had to go and find me in the town somewhere to play on a Saturday. Probably wouldn't have come back. In the meantime, Scott Gillespie in absolutely perfect position on these 3 yellows. Black goes in the centre. Paul Clack is looking like going to find himself 2 adrift and has not done an awful lot wrong.
No, it really hasn't. Just got a bit unlucky with that last break when he ended up just behind the 8 ball. It's really the only thing that's gone wrong for him so far. Could have been 3-all. Looking likely now that it's going to be 4-2. It wasn't very easy to see where a mistake was coming from at any point in this frame, but certainly not from this position.
Scott Gillespie there just taking a little bit of time to be quite measured with this. I thought, well, the black goes in either middle, and this is easier to go around this little route.
Yeah, there was just no way you could fail to get on it if you went up the right, whereas you could come across the line going the other way.
In goes the black. Gillespie now gets his 2-frame cushion. And he never looked as focused as I've seen him. There is definitely a presence in the arena now where when he goes back to his chair and there's that look on his face, that wasn't there last year. There is an intensity about Scott Gillespie. There is almost, he sat in an acceptance that he's going to play well. It's an incredible sight to behold. And he's playing some brilliant pool. And Paul Clack is going to have to find his best game. And to be fair, his best game might not take him over the line.
Well, he's played pretty much his best game in the sense he's cleared up from all the chances he's had. But as you say, he's going to potentially need more than that. Although, let's not write it off. It only takes a dry break. That can turn things around. Right now, he's got to do the thing that's in his control, which is to get back within 1 frame.
Another look. Clack going cushion and into red to free up that back. So he's got his yellows that he desired. Well, he's had to go around the houses a bit there. And
well, as a result, if he's landed on the yellow to the left of the 8-ball, it's going to turn out for the best, because if he can get through to this one that would otherwise have been tough to get at, then the pattern's opened up for him.
Very true, Mark. He's going to hang low.
He'd always missed that one, but we have seen how tight that pocket plays. The last match, Greg Batten had a chance to pass a ball down that rail to win 7-6, and it just stayed over the pocket.
Well, this is particularly easy here for Scott Gillespie. He's going to have to get the old grey matter working here. He's just looking at maybe playing a sort of cannon with the red onto the red that's near the cushion and sending the top red down the table and play the loss of turn and put the red towards the, well, pretty much over that bottom left-hand corner. Well, has he spotted something else? Don't think you can play that skill shot here anywhere. That red ball cut back into the bottom right hand corner, but the cue was going towards the black, so he's going to have to do something. Decided to play a straight plant now with this red. Try and glue the cue ball to the right hand side red of the 2 now.
It's gluing the cue ball that's going to be the tough part of this shot.
Well, we know Clack can probably pot that yellow into the top right hand corner, but can he cut the other yellow across and yeah, that's a clever shot there from Paul Clack. Had to play the loss of turn straight back, and wonder if he could play it thin enough just to knock both of the yellows away, but that's as well as he could have done.
No interest in potting the top ball, because that would have done nothing for him.
This is a big shot. Has he fluked it? No. So, Paul Clack has carved himself an opening with these yellows.
Big frame now this for him. Just get back within one.
It's flowed nicely this match. It's been played at a nice pace. Just approaching the halfway stage on the match clock. We'll have already played pretty much half the match.
Yeah, it's the halfway point all round. Yeah, I mean, the fact that such a good quality of play at the beginning with so many clearances helped speed it up. Ooh, what's
Where on earth
there?
did that come from? What did he do there? Now, I'll tell you this now. When you're playing somebody that's playing as well as Scott, and you know what results he's been having in tournaments, you get that little bit of that aura of, you know, Tom Cousins had it and he has it still because he's the number one. It's almost like a force field that appears to stop you potting balls that you'd normally bang in.
He was just trying to make the angle, wasn't he? I mean, obviously he couldn't really miss it if he just rolls the ball in, but he's just trying to force an angle that wasn't there off the other ball.
Gillespie seeing if the red passes between yellow and black into that bottom left-hand corner. The worry for me would be this this tough red down the rail. I know it's a ball's width away from it, but this is not an easy shot at all. That's fantastic cueing. Really, really straight, smooth cueing from Scott Gillespie. Pops this in, brings the cue ball off the side rail and back out for the black. And Paul Clack has been punished to the full.
Always likely to lose the frame after that mistake, but it's going to give Scott so much confidence. That ball down the right-hand rail was absolutely top draw cueing. The man in the driving seat.
It all depends what he can get through to. I think he can cut the red back into the top corner. But he can also play the yellow into the middles, should he wish so. But I think reds are obviously a lot easier than yellows. But it's the first pot that's tricky. He can maybe get through to the one that's near the bag if he can. Then he's happy days. Well, he's played that very nice.
Great chance now for 6-2. Just going to play one shot here, just get the cue ball back towards the middle of the table. Should all be plain sailing from there.
Well, the only ball that Gillespie's missed in entire matches was a ridiculously hard red up into that top corner after Paul Clack played a loss of turn on him in the last frame. But he didn't get punished for it. I don't think Scott Gillespie is going to be quite as charitable. I know he's shaking his head. He wanted to come about another 3 or 4 balls width down to the table, so he had straight balls into the centres. But he's okay. I mean, he can just run into this other red. It should push it down the table a bit. Not ideal, but again, it's okay. You can pot this the red that's over the corner bag. Bring the cue ball till around the black spot. If you can get it about there, so a little angle, and then you pot that red that's on the bottom rail with a bit of right-hand side, go to the left of the black off the side rail, and you got that red into the right-hand centre. Easy from here. He wants to leave himself his angle. He has it. So this is going to be just a little pop shot here with the right-hand side to spin the cue ball, left side of that black ball, into the side rail. And the Scotsman will be on the hill. Perfect. And this for 6-2, an absolute juggernaut of a player Scott Gillespie is at the moment.
Said at the beginning that he was climbing up the rankings. This is exactly why. He's coming into all of these events now as one of the favourites. So for that that reason, he struck a bit of extra power in that break. Desperately wanted a ball. It's not bad. He's made a ball. He's got a fairly open layout. Yellows and reds are sitting fairly well here for him. Just come an inch or two further than he wanted, but still okay. Plenty of space to play with. Can't be thinking about the scoreline at this point. He's just got to think about winning this frame. Just try and hang on in there. Very hard to put it out of your mind though. The fact you know any mistake could be your last. Probably would be your last from this position. It's a nice layout. You can go about it in a few different ways. A fair bit of space to work with. It's an interesting choice, but should still be okay.
He's just always in this clear. I know they look easy. It just, to me, it always looks like a just slightly out of position every ball.
Yeah, the shot just before that, when he played up the table, I think he might have been better just staying down this end, just rolling them all in. Because now he's ended up just off angle the ball to the right centre, so he's having to take the one bottom right, which means he's got another shot to play. Nothing to the pot, but got to get this position. That's pretty good. Again, it's a ball or two short of absolutely prime.
You didn't want these two last.
Well, his problem now is that he's going to roll the yellow bottom right centre, but he's going to have an angle where if he pots the remaining yellow to the middle, he clips the red. That's why he's coming around to see if he can play for it along to the corner. It's not guaranteed that he'll have a natural angle to get on the 8-ball here.
It just feels like there's a mistake coming somewhere, and he's just played that really well now. He's got an angle to come down, so I've just jinxed it now by saying that, but it just felt like it.
I mean, we're being very critical. We can watch this and say he's obviously going to make this clearance. Although he's, again, just...
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's done well there because he's dug this out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, but he's made a recovery there because I think he was sailing against the wind there with that finish. And he's dragged himself over the line in that frame, Paul Clack, and that's well done to him. That was a good finish in the end.
Scott Gillespie's going to have at least 2 more breaks in this match.
Making doubly sure of that break. Or is he? Made a ball. What's the layout?
Well, good news, bad news. It's not the perfect layout.
Well, immediately looking at reds, and my first glance was the top right hand side of the table where there's 2 yellows that are nearly a plant. You could play that red that's nearest to the rail into the cushion, off the yellow, slides into that corner and opening up that pocket for the other loose red. If you want to take yellows, you've got a thin cut back into the bottom, the top right hand corner, but then that's not a plant, and I don't think you could be made those 2 yellows at the top either, so take your pick. If you're going to take nothing, he's going to hand the table over to Paul Clack. Well, don't blame him.
He's taking his pick. He's not interested at all.
Well, he's 3 frames in front, so there's no urgency for Scott to sort of, let's say, try and lunge over the line. Just no need. So I think he's done the right thing there. He's looked at it, weighed up his options, looked at the percentages and thought, go on, Clacky, you have a go. And Clacky duly obliges. That's not where he wanted the cue ball to be sat after potting that red. Now, is he going to look at that shot? Off the side cushion, into the yellow, over on the right-hand side. I think he might be a bit more wary of it because if he plays it badly, he could open up all the yellows for Scott.
always tough when you're chasing a big lead. Got the luxury of this 3-frame cushion. Just needs to win any of the remaining 4 frames of this match to get into the last 32. We'll be playing all of that last 32 tonight. This is the tail end of the last 64 action. Then we'll be back in the morning, last 16 onwards, playing all the way down to a final. And tomorrow's the big day, really, isn't it? You just want to get yourself into that last 16, get involved on the second day of the tournament. Feel like you can kind of see the end of it, whereas when you turn up on a Thursday afternoon, any thoughts of getting to the final seem a very long way away. Top players like Scott, though, it's just focus from ball one. You don't want silly early round exits. Gonna keep yourself in contention the whole time. Wow, it's a rare mistake there, although in missing that ball he's managed to knock it even safer.
Scott won't be bothered about that. That sort of cut with the pace he played out, sort of caught the jaw and then round the back of the pocket. But he'll be happy. He's 3 frames in front and the clock is ticking down. Still plenty of time, but if Scott could even drag out another 5 minutes of this frame, we'd be delighted. Paul Clack, on the other hand, knows he has some more urgency about it and has to force the issue.
Yeah, and he's going to have to force the issue from a snooker. This is not what he wanted at all. Cue ball frozen to that yellow. Just get the thin edge of the red here.
Yeah, good shot. That's all he could do. We both thought there that he had to play away from that. We didn't, you know, he had that little snick that he could just see the edge of that red. You should see Goobsy. Scott Gillespie is looking at where he can leave Paul Clack in the most awkward position he can find, which he generally think would be down on the bottom, middle of the bottom rail. Wouldn't be pleasant for Paul Clack, and that's exactly where Scott Gillespie's put him. So when required to play the safety game, Scott Gillespie responds.
Yeah, he's a very astute player. He's been around at the top end of competitive pool for a long time. He knows the right shots. Time not yet a huge factor. Paul's got enough of it to get back into this match, but obviously would like to get this frame done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it's now, depending how much of this yellow that Scott Gillespie can see, the one that's near the cushion, I wonder if he could slide it towards those 2 reds. He's not going to bother. He could punch this one out here and just screw the cue ball beyond the red that's on the rail and leave nothing. We just try to nudge that apart there enough where that yellow will go past the red into the corner. Not sure he's hit that hard enough. He gave it a sort of quizzical look there as he played it, so what if Paul Clack just had a look to see if it goes in?
Well, we've got to take the positive in Paul's position. At least he's hanging on in this frame. Ideally, he'd just like to get the frame won and get on with trying to cut the deficit.
Yeah, not a lot there again Paul Clack could do. You feel like Scott Gillespie's turning the screw a little bit here. It's one of them. Paul Clack needs to bump his 2 reds up, but he needs to be potting one of those reds in the middle to do it, because he can't just free them out there, because all he's doing then is opening Scott Gillespie's balls up. He's just potted both of there. I think he was trying to play the loss of turn with Scott. He certainly didn't want his ball to follow that red into the middle.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody said you've got to pot both of those. You just said there's no chance.
No.
Well, now he's got himself in the position that he thought he was leaving Paul in, and he's going to have to play a shot from here. I mean, it's not actually that bad, because obviously he's still in quite good control with the position of the balls, but he'd rather have just left the cue ball where it was.
But whatever the result of this frame, the longer it can be dragged out, it is the man from Scotland that is getting the benefit after building up his lead. Paul Clack hanging on by a thread in this match. I don't know what Scott's asking there.
So just confirm it was a touching ball.
I think he was just reaffirming that he could play straight into Paul Clack's red, so that was obviously very beneficial for Scott Gillespie because he just removed that, let's say, piece off the chessboard. And where's the cue ball going? Oh, Paul Clack. You heard that little bell in the background. We are now down after this shot anyway to 15 seconds a shot. And there, the balls are now open for Scott Gillespie. The winning line in sight for the Scot. This one down into the bottom corner. He could screw into the one that's on the cushion as well. Opted to screw behind a lovely control there from Scott Gillespie. Just a little soft stun down the rail. Very nice indeed. And Scott Gillespie just has these two yellows and the black to march on into the next round, flying the flag for Scotland once again. And who's to say he won't be there right at the end of this tournament, because this has been a great display from him.
Excellent from Scott Gillespie, right from ball one. Looked like he meant business. Paul Clack started off really well. He played his part in that match, but ultimately just didn't have enough answers. Scott Gillespie wins his last 64 match. We'll see him back in action later on tonight in the last 32.